The organization started in 1975. It was in the middle of a tremendous recession that swept the country, and Philadelphia was very hard hit. We had the beginning of the massive plant closings and the loss of industrial jobs. And the thought was that you needed a stronger base to deal with issues for low-income people, and just welfare mothers, welfare recipients was not enough of a base. And the thought was to expand to unemployed workers and the organizations they belonged to, particularly the unions and so forth, and build a stronger movement that would fight for justice for lower income and working people in the country.
I can't imagine anything much more powerful than watching PUP organize to make sure that emergency care is given at hospitals. One of the problems throughout the city was that hospitals were being bought up by a for-profit institution, and they were denying health care at the emergency room for people who were uninsured, for people who couldn't afford to pay their bills.
Tenet Healthcare Systems, which is the second largest for-profit hospital system in the country, as I'm sure you know, came to Philadelphia when the Allegheny hospital system went bankrupt. They bought the 8 HERF hospitals that existed in Philadelphia at that time, and there was a pretty sizable public outcry. There was there were some significant demonstrations organized about it. We, at one point, invaded the building that Tenet had their corporate office in, which was in Center Square, the clothespin building, most people know. Eventually, we did not win the struggle to keep Tenet out of the city, but we were able to win some pretty significant victories from Tenet itself. So I think there were some significant wins that happened as a result of that campaign.
We've been doing work over the last 2 or 3 years on people losing their homes. We have a tremendous number of people losing their homes, both through real estate tax sales, mortgage foreclosures. That's a real fundamental. We think that people need a roof over their head. They need their own home. There's nothing worse than having somebody having their home taken from them, put out on the street.
I think it was about in the middle of 2003, because at that time you had about 1,500 to 2,000 foreclosures a month in the city.
On houses.
It was up to that high.
PUP was very active in stopping sheriff sales and giving people an opportunity who had been laid off, who had been put out of work, on a conscious decision. As the government decided that it no longer wanted to have a middle class in America and factories started shutting down, people were losing their homes because there just weren't those good paying jobs anymore. And at the time, the way that you had to save your home made it almost impossible.
So just the one a month that was dealing with people's homes that behind the mortgages were $1,500 a month. Just that. That's all it was. So he formed this foreclosure crisis committee. We have been able to, as of now, get the foreclosures down to about $500 a month. So in that space of 2 years, we've done a good deal of work.
They helped me at a time that I was about at the lowest you can go. My husband was suffering with great illness. He had sugar diabetes and was unable to work, and through no fault of his own, I was a housewife, things began to take a spiral in our life. And one of the first things we suffered was the house was getting ready to come into foreclosure due to the fact that we were unable to keep up the mortgage. He began to show us how to fill out the papers and put us in touch with HEMAP. And he even did the interview with us over the telephone. And it didn't look good. We were denied the first time, the very first time out. But he even kept us encouraged not to accept the denial. Right. Today, I own my house. I went from foreclosure to ownership. I own it outright. And I paid my last HEMAP payment in February of this year. I have my mortgage papers. And I'm happy, but I couldn't have did any of this without John Dodd and PUP. I just couldn't have did it.
The state has been put up hundreds of millions of dollars to help the unemployed pay their mortgages. Maybe 40, 50,000 homes have been saved.
Another big issue that keeps coming up was the extension of the unemployment insurance. battling to get that done, to get an extension so people can keep getting unemployment insurance so that they could live a normal life. If they were going to go to school, allow them to go to school while they're collecting unemployment, and just trying to make the system, more humane.
Sometimes they'll come in thinking we're the unemployment office, but we're not. And I said, well, if you have the information you need, you can go in back in the back and make a phone call. And basically, when they do that, most of the time they'll say, oh, I've gotten through and everything is fine.
Right.
So that really helps a lot with that.
And once they come, they start coming back.
Right.
I want them to be helpful, we try to encourage them to help one another, because we have to help one another to pass the word out to everybody. And they said, well, I never heard of this place before. I said, regardless, you tell somebody else and let them tell someone else, and that increase the membership, that'll increase the people that come in.
Over the years, whenever we needed to do some kind of work, and John would reach out, or we would reach out to him, the area of the minimum wage, one of the things that we're very active in working on now, to increase the minimum wage. Well, every time the minimum wage has gone up, there's been a struggle to get that to happen. And 9 years ago, we worked with John.
Minimum wage workers have been frozen at $5.15 for the last 9 years. Now, I don't think there's anyone who listens, who understands, who knows about that doesn't think it's time to raise the minimum wage. Again, unfortunately, that's not enough. It's not enough to simply say it should be so, to point out that because of inflation, $5.15 isn't $5.15 after 9 years. It's really lower than that. All those facts can be well known, but what it really takes is someone like John Dodds, who understands that we have to organize, that we have to mobilize, that we have to put pressure on elected officials to win those victories. But without the organization forming a coalition, without the organization finding a way to work with unions, finding a way to work with church groups, with synagogues, with mosques, without finding a way to work with progressives and poor people's organizations, and having that broad-based ability to work with people from different points of view, there would not be the momentum to win that struggle. Without finding low-wage workers, without finding people who are struggling to be able to pay their bills and have them tell their stories, that it would be impossible to win these struggles.
What we do is we offer them help with their individual problems, and it's a very concrete sort of service. Like, we help people with housing problems, we help people find jobs, we help people with their unemployment benefits, and so on. And those people are then, you could just do the service and send them home. Or what we try to do usually when we're doing a campaign is tell them about a way we got to fix this. You're getting screwed, and there's only so much we can do for you without an organization, without a plan to fight back. And then people, and that's the moment then people are ready to fight.
I think a lot of the stuff that's happened, are taken for granted. I think we're about to have an increase in the state minimum wage. That would not have happened without PUP. This is going to have real impact on people's lives. And most of the people it impacts are not going to know how it happened. Aren't going to know that there's John Dodds and his wire rimmed glasses and the megaphone, surrounded by affected people, and in most cases that's who John is dealing with and organizing people.
But it's a continued process of continuing to fight, continuing to know that you have a voice, that it means something, that the people are able to do something. They're able to, regardless to how small you think you are, that you can do something.
Fighting for causes and standing up for people, for unemployed people and people of low income. And this really, once again, moved me. PUP, the Philadelphia Unemployment Project.